Difficulties, mostly connecting with the Facebook channel. So we're going to go extra today. We're going to go to about 15 or 20 minutes after. Um, I hope some of you that came on early are staying with us. So this is Leo Knighton Tallarico, Perspectives from the Sky. And this is the 20th day of May, 2023. We've got a really special guest for you tonight, Joanna Halverson. She's from the Pacific Northwest. She's going to tell us about the coastal Salish, Native American, and also about creating matriarchy, which they were able to do with the coastal Salish, and which Joanna Halverson has done on her own. So Joanne is a healer, she's a writer, she's a psychotherapist, and she does many things. And she is going to tell us about the Native Americans, about matriarchy, and about what we need in this world right now. So let me start off by saying we've just gone through an especially intense time. God, it felt like Mercury retrograde just now. Um, but we're past Mercury retrograde. We're still in the shadow of Mercury retrograde, but it shouldn't be causing this much trouble. So here's the bigger picture. We started a whole new chapter of life on Earth for the human family on April 20th this year. That was a solar eclipse, new moon in Aries, closely square to Pluto, guardian of the underworld, transformational Pluto, and conjunct expansive Jupiter. So it was like a powerful blast into a new chapter of life. However, the next day, on the 21st of April, Mercury went retrograde. So what that did for everybody is say, okay, we've moved into a brand new chapter on life, but it's not going to feel like it until you work on some things, until you pause, reflect, maybe sometimes even go back to the past a little bit in your memories and work things out so that you can reset. And the reset happens at the Taurus new moon, which was yesterday. So again, powerful new beginnings on the 20th of April, a pause and reflect time on the 21st, which lasted till the 14th of May. This past week for a lot of people was really tough. A lot of people that I work with, that work with me, were just, some people were actually freaking out this past week, but it was really a difficult week for a lot of people. Very challenging week before the new moon that started yesterday. This weekend is also challenging. One of the reasons of the challenge the week we just passed was the fact that Jupiter was square Pluto in the middle of the week. And now this weekend, after this new moon yesterday, Mars is going to be opposite that same Pluto, creating a T-square, Jupiter, Mars, and Pluto. So it's a powerful, powerful, powerful time. Aries at the solar eclipse new moon. That's like new energy, like spring energy is Aries. Powerful energy that begins things. It's like the buds coming out of the trees and the branches filling with leaves. It's that powerful of a time, Aries time. And when something is a solar eclipse, it's like, I say this often, but I'll say it again. It's like a new moon on steroids when it's a solar eclipse like that. And especially so with all the aspects that it made. Mercury retrograde, pause, Taurus new moon. Taurus is fixed earth. Fixed earth. That means what was started, what was begun, is then rooted to begin. So we are now solidly in this new chapter of our lives as a human family. So what's coming up next? What's coming up next is next thing, there'll be a full moon on June 3rd, 4th, and that'll be at 13 degrees of Gemini and Sagittarius. Then a new moon on June 17th and 18th. That's going to be an important one, that new moon. We're probably going to be a feeling of fated events during that lunar cycle because Saturn goes retrograde on the same day as the Gemini new moon. Then there's summer solstice on June 21st. That's when the sun moves into Cancer. On the 26th, Mars will square Uranus. And then, extremely importantly, on July 7th and 8th, Mars in Leo will be at that 28 degrees that I've been telling people about. Like when things touch 28 degrees of fixed signs, it triggers an awful lot on the universe to Earth connection. Back in 2017, there was a solar eclipse, new moon in Leo. That was a time that we kind of saw President Trump's colors showing when he was speaking about the Charlottesville, Virginia protest that was going on against taking a Confederate statue out of the park. And so there were a lot of neo-Nazis and white supremacists who were protesting taking away that Civil War statue. And then we had on the other side Antifa and other protesters from the other side of far left, in that case, instead of far right. And then a woman got run over by a car during that time period. President Trump was asked how he felt about what happened, and he said, there's good people on all sides. What also was going on at that time was North Korea and President Trump were kind of strutting with each other around nuclear weapons. So that was at 28 degrees of Leo, that solar eclipse new moon. Mars will be at that same spot on July 7th and 8th. And it'll actually form a yod, or a finger of God formation. It's called a finger of God when two planets are sextile to one another and make a quincunx to another planet. That planet in the quincunx is the finger in the finger of God. So Mars will be at 28, there it is again, 28 degrees of Leo, making a finger of God in that July 7th and 8th. And it'll be making the finger of God with Neptune and Pluto. Those are two transformational planets. Remember, there's three transformational planets, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. So two of them will be in that finger of God. So that's really a big turning point that's going to happen then. And then just like 2 weeks later, Venus will go retrograde. Venus will go retrograde. And it will form that same yod because it's going to go retrograde at that same 28 degrees of Leo. So it'll also be triggering Neptune and Pluto, those two powerful transformational planets. Please keep in mind that we are in the age of Aquarius. The age of Aquarius began at winter solstice 2020. Also keep in mind that an age lasts 2,160 years approximately. So you can't expect it to be, rainbows and unicorns right away, because we're just starting in this age of Aquarius. And there's a lot of cleaning out of the old world that's a part of this new movement into the age of Aquarius. Planet Pluto moved into Aquarius in March. And the last time it had been in Aquarius was in the late 1700s at the time of the American and French Revolutions. And Uranus, the Aquarian planet, was discovered at the same time. So Pluto in Aquarius back during the Revolution of the Americans, the Revolution of the French. Pluto's first time it's been back to that spot in Aquarius since then. And you know that the Aquarius energy was so strong back then in the late 1700s. And that revolutionary energy is strong again to overthrow the patriarchal energies that have been running this country and this world for so long. And the empire and the superpower that the United States has created is not going to work in a new world. There can't be any superpowers in that new world. We're moving into a multipolar world of equality. Remember that in your own communities that you get involved in. It's not about anybody being better than anyone else anymore. It's about equality, and it's about diversity within unity. That's what's coming. So when you look out in the world and there's all these horrible conflicts that are going on and wars, just keep in mind that it's like birth pains. Like when a woman is pregnant and she's going to deliver, oftentimes she goes through horrible, horrible pain before the delivery. And that's where we are. We have to, before this birth, as this birth comes, as this birth is here, there's a lot of letting go of old ways. And one of those old ways that we're letting go of is us versus them. Us versus them. Making enemy, demonizing. And a lot of what the world is about, whether it's the economic system or whether it's the conflicts and wars, it's about the us versus them and about some people being better than others. And that's not the new world that we're moving into. So that gives you kind of an overview of what's coming up. Let's look at it this way. With the Taurus new moon that just happened yesterday, that's a grounding of this new chapter of life. It's a grounding into the new chapter of life. The events that are a result of this eclipse season that we just passed will be coming after the Taurus new moon, which has happened, and then most especially after the Gemini new moon on June 17th and 18th, that lunar cycle. So we could take it all the way till the end of July and realize that there's a lot of events that are a result of the solar eclipse and the eclipse season that'll be coming over the next couple of months. So expect that in your personal life. Remember, you are now in a new chapter of your life. What does that mean? What was the old chapter? What have you let go of? What do you still need to let go of? Your new chapter. What is your new chapter about? How clear is it to you what the new chapter is? How much is it still forming? Just feel confident that that's what's been happening, not only in the greater world, but in each one of our personal lives too. New chapter, which means letting go of the past. You know, I'm going to let go of myself talking in a minute here, and we're going to bring on Joanna Halverson, uh, who's going to help us understand maybe a little bit more about some of the new world that we're moving into by some of the work that she's been doing. And then after that, Deborah Knighton Tallarico will be on, and she'll be telling us about some other healing type of modalities and bringing back the feminine to the earth. So we're going to have a little of the feminine coming back to the earth back to back now. So let me bring on Joanna Halverson. But let me say first that Joanne is a clinical psychologist, spiritual mentor, healer, artist, and writer. She treasures many years of initiation ceremonies and in-depth training with indigenous shamans. She has two medicine names. I'm going to ask her what they are. Two of the shamans are from the matriarchal tribes of the Northwest. And Joanne has lived many years off the grid in the woods. How about that, everybody? That's not that easy. The grid in the woods of the Northwest and rooted in the soil interbeing. Her desire is to pass on the mystical echo wisdom and ancient alive healing magic that transforms us. So let me bring on Joanne now. And there she is. Hi, Joanne.
Hi, Leo.
Sorry for the delay. Technical difficulties.
These things happen.
Oh, I know. That's
Good to be
technology.
here. And hi to whoever's out there, too.
So, Joanne, tell everybody how you got to living the way that you are out in the woods like that off the grid. How did that happen? Is that from when you were young?
I will give you a little summary story. I believe I was called to live in the woods from the time I was very young. I had a very important dream at about the age of 7. And I also had a numinous experience where I heard the wind talk to me about the same time of about 7 years old. And then I decided, being an animal and nature lover, very young, that my dream, very much different from the American dream, which is usually about acquiring for one's
Yes.
family or for oneself.
Indeed.
My dream was to live in the woods and talk to the animals. I wanted to live in nature. I didn't imagine people, but I actually ended up getting married and having children and living off grid in the woods. And when I was 18, I received a small college fund my parents had saved. I went to art school a little bit, and then with the rest of that money, I bought land in the woods to the chagrin of my parents, and had children very young and raised my kids off grid in a little cabin in the woods.
Wow.
I
How,
believe it
how,
is a calling. I really do.
how did you end up doing your psychotherapy work and all that when you were off grid like that?
Well, I was actually trying to make it as an artist at first when I lived on an island in the Northwest. And however, I'm introverted. I hate promoting myself. I hate the fakeness of trying to put on a persona so that you can schmooze with people. So I was very bad at promoting myself. And I just became known in the community, and the local psychologist asked me to run an art therapy group in the small community mental health center in the small town where I lived. So I was invited. I was invited to do art therapy. And from there, I started learning. And in my late 20s, my husband, who at the time, who was a very difficult person, a charming pirate kind of person, but he had addictions and other issues. It was very difficult. Um, I knew that I had to sort of plan, get my education together. Then when I was 31, he died suddenly. And I left our off-grid living to go back to school with my small children in order to support them. And I was either going to go into theology or psychology, but I realized it was much more difficult to make a living in theology.
Yes.
So I eventually became a psychologist.
And then you went back into the
I
woods like
have,
that?
well, what I've done is over the years, I have been living in Seattle and running my practice in Seattle and teaching at Seattle University part-time in the psych department, but spent much time as possible going back to our cabin, which is still there on 15 acres of land, which no one could, or hardly anyone could afford these days, but we could long ago. And now I lead retreats, individual and group retreats on that land. And the land has been one of my greatest teachers. You know, I was called to that land as a small child, and that land has taught me so much, And also the land loves me back and loves our
I like
family
that.
back and the people who stay there, because the land is alive and the spirits of the land are alive. And the land, here's another great synchronicity. That land was the home of the Samish people, and that's a Coast Salish tribe, and they were the ceremonial people. And actually, just last week, I was talking to my dear friend and teacher, Johnny Moses, who's a Coast Salish medicine person, storyteller, shaman, healer, a very wonderful person you can find online easily. He's very well known as a storyteller, but he was telling me that the place where our land is, and I ran a retreat there about 3 weeks ago, was where people went to pray. So I believe that the spirit, not only the ancestral spirits, but the spirits of the animals, the spirit of that land is bone and rock and soil deep. So the land is rather magical and offers a lot of healing and a lot of teachings to people if you're willing to listen.
Do you ever get from the land any information about the condition of our world in general, or does it just kind of keep speaking of what's going on right there where it's at? Does it ever tell you more than that?
Oh, yes, I think it tells more all the time. And I think that I tend to have more strong psychic experiences, what you might call psychic experiences, when I'm on that land. So dreams that, and I was told by Johnny long ago, before I realized it, that I have a lot of prophetic dreams, and they're stronger there. Sometimes I hear things or have encounters with animals. And I believe that what the land is telling us is that the way forward is to reconnect with natural rhythms and ourselves. So there's a new word that I just was reading about recently called ecosomatic. And it's really being ecosomatic, being embodied and in tune with the ecosystem. Because I think what we live in now is a fractured world that was taken apart by colonization and patriarchy and hyper individualism. And the way forward into unity and diversity is to recapture the sense of an ecosystem way of living and an embodied way of living. And that doesn't mean we can't be connected to the cosmos and that great humanitarian broad scope of Aquarius, but also on the flip, Aquarius right across from Leo, but also that personal sense of efficacy and heart and courage. So the land is humbling too. You make plans. I made plans for this retreat, and one of the days it rained. It's not, you cannot program the land. You have to listen. And
Yes.
from listening, you learn to adapt. You learn to be stronger. You learn to listen more deeply. And you learn to be humble. And humility is the opposite of the hubris of someone like Trump or the
Exactly.
patriarchal hierarchy.
That's right.
Humility means humble comes from the word dirt, like humus.
Yes.
Not hummus, humus.
Yes.
The kind you eat. The kind you
Tasty
wash.
dish, but no.
So that humility is not humiliation. Humility
Yeah.
means we're all of the same earth. And literally our bodies are from the earth. They're made of the blood and bones of Mother Earth. And we forget that often, that we are part of the earth. And also just thinking about that, I think there's a misunderstanding about many indigenous people, or at least the indigenous people I've known, cross-culturally even, and I've known a few from other areas too, like Ecuador or other places. And that is, they are not only earthbound and having spiritual experience with animals or elements or the wind or the earth.
Star people also,
They
right?
are also very mystical.
And
And
star people that you
yes,
connect with? Yeah.
yes, and they have many. I know a few stories about the blue star, which is also the star that lives in the earth.
The
And one
Hopis talk about that
interesting
quite a
thing
bit.
about the blue star, connected to what you're talking about and the sort of changing things, is that the blue star and the medicine of the blue star returns when an era is ending and then a new one's beginning.
I
It,
interviewed a Hopi elder some years ago, and that's exactly what they have to say
it's here
about the
too.
blue
It's a
star.
co-salish prophecy as well. And the earth is also called the blue star.
Mm,
Mhm,
really? The
mhm,
Earth is called a blue star too?
mhm.
Oh,
But
that's
the
interesting.
original blue star, I don't know all of the ins and outs of this, so I'm oversimplifying. That the blue star spirit came to the earth with the first world, or before the first world. And now we are, I believe, entering the fifth world. And I think all over the world they don't think like Western culture that everything's like a stairway to heaven.
Right.
Everything is cyclical. And that this has happened many, many times. That people have gotten arrogant and full of hubris and hurt one another and the earth. And when they start to do that, the earth and the great spirit have to do a correction.
So where do you feel we are now? I mean, you can see how close everybody's getting to nuclear weapons. I mean, the United States was the only country ever to use them on Japanese people in Hiroshima, which, by the way, ironically, is where all the leaders of the Western world are meeting right now,
Well,
in
maybe that's
Hiroshima,
good.
Japan.
That seems like a good thing.
I
The
hope
face of
so.
shadow.
I hope so. What do you feel though when you look out and you see what's happening out in the world? Do you
Well, I can
what
tell
do
you
you have
what
sense?
I feel. Now, I tend to be a fairly optimistic person in some ways. I always believe there's hope because I am an old flower child. I totally believe in peace, love, and happiness. And
Yeah.
I believe in other things too. I believe in depth and sorrow and the importance of that. But I do believe that we're at a place where those of us who decide to wake up enough to realize, re-realize, or remember. Remember means to put back together again, rather than dismember, to be taken apart, which is
Exactly.
where we are now. So to remember is about reclaiming what's authentically true. And what's authentically true is what you said, unity and diversity, and that we are all one family, but that includes the seen and the unseen worlds, the animal people.
That's exactly how I believe too. That's
It's
exactly how I believe
everything,
too.
and that is ancient wisdom, but it's also just true wisdom. Because
It just seems, Joanne, that what's going on in the world right now is telling us that we've got to make it through some very powerful birth pangs
yes,
in order
yes,
to get where we're going.
I believe that too. And the many prophecies, and here in the Northwest, from what I know, everything that I say, is from, as a person who is not Indigenous, but has been honored by Indigenous people because I'm so close to the earth and the spirit. And so I'm not going to claim that I know exactly everything. I can tell you what I feel, what I've experienced, and what I share with permission from people. So I have to be very careful about that, because I know that because of cultural appropriation, many Native people have been really ripped off. And I want to come from the opposite place of united, not ripping off. So I'll just say that in the prophecies and in my own sense is that if we come back to our heart, and even if we aim to be one heart, one mind, not the same people, but one heart, one mind, then there's tremendous power of healing and transformation. That's when miracles can happen. I've seen miracles. I believe in miracles. I also believe in the power of darkness. But one of my favorite lines, so I think there's both, we're coming in a strange confluence of the shadow and the light.
Definitely.
Just a very strong kind of butting heads of both, I feel. And I think there are a lot of people and creatures that won't make it, and there are many who will. And it's going to be the people who can tune into the earth and the spirit who have a chance to make it forward and lead us forward in a better way. That's
Well said.
I believe.
Well said.
I think that's in many of the prophecies as well.
Well said.
Thank you.
Let me shift into something else now.
Sure.
So and I did some research because I knew you were going to come on about matriarchy. So I looked at the Coastal Salish and I saw the matriarchal lineage, and that the last matriarchal person who was born free was in 1910.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me what you know about matriarchal and the Coastal
Sure.
Salish people.
So first of all, I want to say that matriarchy is not the same as patriarch. It's not the same structure. So it's not like women are at the top and everybody else is subservient. Matriarchy is an ecosystem. So it's unity and diversity. And it celebrates the creative dynamism of the earth and the great spirit that infuses everything with that, the soul, the spirit. Everything is infused with the great mystery, the great spirit, and the earth loans it form. So it's form and, and non-form working together. And so matriarchy is not the same as patriarchy. Women are not on the top telling everybody else what to do. It's an ecosystem. And one example I can give of that is that for the Coast Salish, some of the tribes had up to 8 genders, maybe even more. That's, gender is such a big issue right now.
It is.
And really, I believe it's coming back, that this has always been the truth, that there are many kinds of ways to be in this world. But the gender teachings that I have been grateful that I've been able to study, they're far more like saying the design of a person, maybe like an archetype. So we know about introverts and extroverts. We know that people can be maybe the archetype of Demeter, the mother goddess, or the archetype of which might be connected to Mother Mary, or the archetype of Artemis, the woman warrior, or the sage. I think that's what you are, Leo. The wise man, the wise sage. So these genders are more like archetypes. So they have something to do with who people are attracted to, or their physical connections, but it's much more about their purpose in life, and how their purpose in life, just like an ecosystem, dovetails with the greater purpose. And the greater purpose is we-ness, or interbeing, or unity and diversity. But that's a wonderful thing about unity and diversity, and that's matriarchal. And you think about that's matriarchy. It's unity and diversity. It's that we're all together. But one reason women are so honored, and if anyone wants to read a book that really exemplifies this and is easy, fun reading, I'd recommend Twilight on the Thunderbird. It's written by Howard Hansen, who grew up with the Quinault people, I believe it is, on the coast. And he has chapters. It's very easy. It's his life story, his memoir. And he talks about the older women, particularly because unlike our culture, which wants everything new, so you'll buy things, it's that in the native cultures, elders are revered because they're living libraries. And they're passing on not only their knowledge and their wisdom, but the peace, or the inner peace that they've developed as elders. So particularly in the Coast Salish culture, the older women were really honored for the ones who would pass on traditions. But women are the portals of life.
Yes.
Portal of life. So how it is that we think of male creator and don't honor women as portals of life is a bit of a mystery to me.
One of the craziest things I've got it in my own room, but Michelangelo creation is
Yeah.
so strange because it's one man touching the hand of another man,
Yeah.
and that's all the creation. That is so weird to me. It really is.
Right.
Been
And it's really
part of
showing what we've lived with,
this. Yeah.
Yeah. Handsome white men touching each other create everything. Yeah. So matriarchy is also based on generosity and the idea that the gift keeps giving. They had many, many ceremonies and rituals in the Northwest, and I'm sure many other tribes too. And they were called the singing and dancing people, because they were singing as they were working, singing whenever they were weaving baskets, ceremonies. And they also had the potlatch. Now, many people have heard of the potlatch, or if you haven't, it's basically the idea that you'd have this community giveaway where you would make things, save things. Sometimes they'd have giveaways. They'd have a giveaway for a birthday, or a giveaway for a particular song that's honored, or for just getting together. There were giveaways all the time. So it's sort of like constant Christmas and the best of it. This idea of generativity and generosity, the opposite of greed and hoarding and getting me and mine. And sometimes people would give away everything, even their homes. And of course they were fine because they lived in tribal situations. So they were taken care of, but they were giving away. And so in the retreats that I run, we do a little mini giveaway. Some giveaways take hours. People have so many things to give away. But we do a little mini giveaway, and it's one of the happiest events in this retreat. When people have this sense of, often people make things too, the sense of generosity, giving out, instead of that awful feeling you don't have enough and you have to grasp, they just open their hearts and they become so happy. So the thing about matriarchy and these indigenous traditions is they can teach us how to be happier. And that's also part of living closer to nature. That doesn't mean you aren't going to get trials and tribulations, because that's the natural order of things. We're not going to escape suffering, but we're going to learn to use our suffering for the betterment of ourselves, but of everyone. And one example of that for the Coast Salish people is that year round, they would jump in the ocean. And I tell you, out here on the West Coast, the ocean is not warm. And in the winter, if you can imagine, okay, time to go jump in the ocean, that's a lot to commit to.
Mhm.
And it was not just it was just become stronger on the shore to warm you up, and the people would help you warm up. But I mean, I jumped in a lake about a month and a half ago, and I couldn't breathe. So that was, it's not an easy thing to do, but the teaching is that you jump in the cold water because you want to be strong for your people.
Mm.
You want to endure the ups and downs of life to strengthen yourself physically and spiritually, so you'll endure for the sake of everyone.
I like that.
It's always about we. They didn't even have a word for I, me, mine. No word. It's it's a tonal languages. So how you would adjust your voice would say whether you're talking about yourself or the whole, but there was no word for I, me, mine.
Oh, that's interesting. But yet individuality is respected.
Tremendously, and I'm glad that you said that. That's like the gender teachings. The elders and people in the villages would watch children and see what they were drawn to. So there might be, let's say, a little girl who loves to follow someone out fishing and is excited about making a fishing pole or getting up early. They would go catch salmon. Usually salmon are sort of the buffalo of the Northwest, the honored people were the salmon people, and who gave themselves away in order to feed people. And that little girl, they may say, oh, that person has kind of a warrior hunter spirit. Let's
Aha.
send them to this group of elders who know how to do that. Or if they watched somebody who's particularly sensitive, who mentions having a lot of dreams, who cries easily when a bug is hurt, or gets messages from the trees, they might say, oh, that might be a medicine person.
Oh,
Let's
that's
send
good.
that person to the shamans. And Johnny, and this is also on his website, Johnny Moses, so I'm not just giving things away. He was sent to many elders, many medicine people, because he was trained to be a master shaman. He will not call himself that because he's a humble person, but I can call him that.
Joanne, thank you very much. Would you tell everybody how they can get a hold of you, and
Oh, sure.
if they want like some kind of work from you, what you
Sure.
would do for them?
Yeah, the best way to reach me is either to text me via my phone number, which is 425-761-0028. I have a website that's thrivecounselorseattle.com. And these days, I am really not doing strict psychotherapy. I'm really doing more spiritual mentoring, trying to combine what I've learned as a psychologist about what makes people well and healthy and healed, along with what I've learned under the wing of these shamans and living in nature. So kind of a more ecosystem approach to helping people heal. And then my email is Joanne, Joanne, D as in daffodil, Halverson, HALVERSON @gmail.com. So it's Joanne D. Halverson @gmail.com. And I'm really just trying to pass on my legacy and help people to learn to be their authentic selves and use their gifts.
That sounds like something most everyone needs. Thank you so much for being
Thank
on
you,
tonight. I
Leo.
hope you'll come back sometime again.
I would be happy to come back. I have many stories, many teachings I would love to share with anyone willing to listen and of open heart.
Sounds
So I'm going
good.
to say thank you to you in the Samish language and to everyone out there. So Ihaichka Siam, and then Ihaichka Siseltsiam, Ihaichka Kazile. So thank you, high class, good people. Thank you, Mother Earth, and thank you, Great Mystery.
Take, and thank you, Joanne, and take care of yourself. We'll talk to you
You.
again.
Yeah, take care. Thank you,
Bye-bye.
Leo. Bye-bye.
And let's see where are you, Joanne? There you are. That should do it. And Deborah, we'd love to have you come on now and say what you have to say today. Are you ready to do that? Let me just get you and Joanne on for a second. I want to introduce you to each other.
Okay.
There we
Yes.
go.
Hi there.
Hey, Joanne.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. I loved everything that you said. I really deeply resonated with it. And it's actually some of what I'm going to be talking about today too. It's
Good.
very connected and very aligned.
That's wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hope to
Nice
talk
to
more with
see
you someday.
Yeah, definitely.
Take
Definitely.
care.
Yeah, you too.
Okay,
So,
Deb, I'm going to get off here so you can talk.
okay. Okay. So, yeah, it just to, piggyback on both Leo and Joanne about these times we're in and the deep need to connect with Mother Earth and spirit and the universe. And as most of you who know me know that that's what I usually talk about, but I wanted to spend some time on the Taurus new moon and the Taurus energy, which is to me very much connected with the earth, the mother energy, the Mother Earth energy, especially. And also the cycle of Venus, because on Tuesday we're going to move into a new gateway in the cycle of Venus. So those are the things I wanted to focus on, as well as I don't think Leo touched on it much, but Jupiter is now in Taurus. And I think it's so synchronistic with this new moon in the Pleiadian gateway. So that's what I'm going to talk about today. So yesterday, as Leo said, we had the new moon in Taurus, sun and moon joined together. Um, and Taurus is that very Venusian, earthy Venusian energy. So it has a lot to do with, connecting with beauty, the beauty of the earth, the beauty of nature, all of our senses. So Taurians and that Taurus energy is very much like really being aware of your senses, your touch, sight, taste, smell. So as we began as we had the new moon yesterday, we began a new lunar cycle, which will be the signature will be of in the Taurus energy. And what's also interesting, and Leo was talking about the 28 degrees of fixed signs. So the new moon was at that 28-degree point too. And also that 28 degrees of Taurus is right in alignment with the Pleiades. And so right now we're in a Pleiadian portal, you could say. So the from the 28 degrees of Taurus to around 0 to 1 degrees of Gemini is where we feel that energy. So the moon's already moved through that, but the sun is moving through that right now. So the Pleiadian energy, that means that the Pleiadian energy is going to be really strong right now. And it's coming down to bless us, you could say, in alignment with the sun right now, was in alignment with the moon. And that Pleiadian energy is also a very feminine, healing energy, very much connected to developing empathy and compassion for all beings, and is also known kind of to balance the light and the dark in a way, because in the Celtic tradition, because the Pleiades rises in the autumn, they always connected the Pleiades with that movement into the autumn and kind of that energy of death and letting go and surrendering and moving into that deeper place, yinward energy. So, and facing, maybe some loss and letting go. So the Pleiades energy is connected with both of that. And it's a time to do soul healing right now during this Pleiadian gateway. So that's only going to be till like Monday or so. And so in this Taurus lunar cycle, and with Jupiter in Taurus for the whole year till next May, this theme of really connecting with the earth and our bodies, and really starting to honor our body as our sacred temple. And in alignment with what Joanne was saying, we are not separate from Mother Earth. Our body is the earth. And especially because I know Joanne works with some Indigenous elders, and I work with in communion with some of the elders in the heart of the world in Colombia, the Mamos and the Sagas. Those are the men and the women medicine people in that area of the world. And they always say that, the feminine especially is one with the earth. So whatever we do to the feminine in all life, we do to the earth. What we do to the earth affects the feminine. And that the feminine is meant to kind of lead the way in healing right now. Not in separate from the masculine, but the feminine needs to lead, because the feminine needs to be restored, especially. Of course, the masculine does too. But and there's so much urgency right now with the earth and what's going on with our beloved Gaia and our bodies. And I don't know about whoever's listening out there, but I just wanted to say that what I've been experiencing myself, and with so many people I know, clients, friends, people, and especially women, are going through a lot in our bodies. I can attest to that. I'm going through so much, like detoxing, cleansing, clearing. And I believe that this time, this lunar cycle, and this whole year with Jupiter and Taurus, is we're really going to be learning to care for our bodies, our body temple, releasing, cleansing, clearing out old residues of past life memories, this life memories, all the energies that are and memories that are held in the earth mother's body, and also within our bodies, because like I said, they're not separate. So if we think about all that's been going on our earth for thousands of years, so many things, it's held in the body of the earth as memories, as impressions, as imprints, just as our body has those imprints from all the things we've experienced in this life and past lifetimes. So, and lifetimes in the stars too, because we come from different realms. So right now, I believe our sacred work is to heal our body temple and reconsecrate it, just like we need to reconsecrate Mother Earth. So what does that mean? It means to honor, really, it means to honor everything as sacred, to honor all that we experience as sacred, to honor our bodies as sacred, all the elements as sacred. And within our bodies, we have the elements too, with the air that we breathe, the water in our bodies, the fluids, the blood, our physicality, our bones, of the earth. And then we have the fire, which is our spirit, and the ether, our connection with Great Spirit. So this is a time to really do deep self-care of your body, and to also find what your body loves, what gives your body pleasure, what makes your body feel good, and to really connect with Mother Earth. Lay on the earth, looking up at the stars, the sky, and just really like ground and become embodied. I think Joanne also talked about that. This year, we're going to have that chance to get really embodied, and in a way that also is enjoyable. So I think of Taurus as very much connected with, the goddesses of love, and Hathor especially, because Hathor was the ancient Egyptian. She often is depicted with the cow ears, and she's very much connected with that earthy, feminine sensual energy like dance and movement and art and singing and fertility. And then there's many other um, goddesses of love like Isis and Oshun and Yamaya, and in all the different cultures, and Lakshmi and Sarasvati, and also, of course, Aphrodite. So that energy, it's caring for our bodies right now during this year and doing that deep soul work to transmute, to transform, to alchemize what we've been holding and carrying in our bodies that might show up as pain in our body or any kind of dis-ease. Dis-ease is being not at ease in ourselves and coming back into that sacred balance within. So what can you do to really care deeply for your body? What does your body need to be nourished, to be happy? What does the earth need to be healthy and thriving and flourishing? And same with your body. And to really consecrate your body as your holy temple, and to look at Mother Earth as a holy temple. And how can we reconsecrate? By honoring the sacredness of all the seasons and the cycles, the elements, the elemental beings of nature, the nature spirits, the devas, the trees, the mountains, the rivers, all the waterways. The water is so important right now for us to be aware of. And that's also our emotional body and cleansing. What do we need to do to cleanse and to stay clear? And beyond that is to really find a way to enjoy being on the earth, because Taurus is that energy, it's this energy in May that where all the flowers are starting to bloom and there's beauty around. The trees have that bright green energy, that new life that's bursting forth. And there's like there's that energy of celebration, like wanting to dance on the earth and enjoy also being in a body and our sensuality, enjoying our senses. So those are the energies that I wanted to talk about around, this year with Jupiter and Taurus and this lunar cycle of the reconsecration of our body temples and the reconsecration of the temple of Gaia, and that's going to be a huge focus. So that's something that you can, focus your energies on now for this lunar cycle and for the whole year, because there'll be an expansive energy around that with Jupiter. And then before I do a short meditation at the end, I want to talk about the cycle of Venus. So in the cycle of Venus, Venus has a 19-month cycle. And she goes retrograde. And Leo mentioned that she's going retrograde, I think, in July. She'll be retrograde for, I think, a couple months or close to it. And that's when she goes through when Venus is retrograde, besides being the focus on reflection on relationships, it's also when she's going through a metamorphosis from one archetypal energy to a new archetypal energy. So the Venus will be going retrograde in Leo. And that means that whole 19-month cycle that will be new starting in September will be the energies of Leo for that whole time. Right now, we're in the Capricorn, what's called Meta Goddess, from my teachings that I've been in my training. So right now we're in the Capricorn energy, which is the wise woman, the wisdom energy, the wisdom of the earth. And so what happens is Venus goes through her metamorphosis when she goes retrograde, and then she emerges as the morning star. And then she goes through 7 or 8 months, usually 8 months, as the morning star. And every month, when the moon and Venus join together, and in when she's in the morning star, in the morning sky, it's during the waning moon. So it's before the new moon. And then she goes into the underworld, which means she's with the sun and we can't see her in the sky. And this is all connected to the journey of Inanna to the underworld and back. And the ancient Sumerians, they knew this. They saw the cycle of Venus, and a lot of people believe that the whole mythos of Inanna was connected to that cycle, and it's so connected. So then she rises from the underworld and she goes through the gateways. So it's all connected with the chakras. So right now, long story short, is right now Venus is in the evening sky and has been since, I believe, January. And right now we're in the throat chakra gateway. So it's like Venus is like Inanna coming up through the gateways. And we've been in the throat chakra gateway for the last 3.5 weeks. And on Tuesday, Venus and the moon are joining together. And in the waxing moon, because we're after the new moon, and we're moving into the third eye chakra. So all issues around your intuition, your inner sight, your perception, clear seeing, which is clairvoyance, tuning into your dreams, your dream time is going to be really highlighted during that gateway, which is for 4 weeks, a month, from this Tuesday coming up. And that'll be really early in the morning Pacific time when they join together. So start looking into the evening sky, not too long after sunset, and you're going to start seeing the waxing crescent moon and Venus getting closer and closer. And Venus has just been brilliant in the sky. And she's, the goddess of love, connected with Taurus again. So that energy is really strong. So really allow yourself to tune in and receive the energies. Actually be out in nature and see and witness and feel and receive the blessings, the light transmissions as the crescent moon and Venus join together. And know that we're moving up into this gateway of the third eye. And so anything that's blocking your third eye, you can ask to be removed so you can have clearer vision and clearer sight, so you can be more connected spiritually to your own inner wisdom. That's all the energies of the third eye. So I'm going to just do a short meditation, because I know we don't have much time, to just bring us into that awareness of our third eye, and also into the awareness of the Taurian energies and our sacred body temple and the temple of Mother Earth. So just taking a moment now to just become aware of your body and just breathing into your heart space in the center of your chest, breathing into your heart and feeling the energy of Mother Earth beneath you, our beloved Gaia. And imagine and feel your heart coming into resonance with her heartbeat. And just feeling your heart and her heart beating as one. And then bringing your awareness into your heart again and feeling your heart connecting with the heart of the universe, the heart of Source, the sky, the stars, the planets, God, Goddess, all that is, Great Spirit. And feel yourself in the center. Your heart is the center point that plays the balance between Mother Earth and Great Spirit, Universal Source. And just feel your body as this sacred temple that houses your spirit. And just feel that for a moment. My body is a sacred temple. And that I'm going to begin to honor my body as the sacred temple it is. just as I am vowing to honor Mother Earth as a sacred temple she is. And I know we're at time right now, so I encourage you to do this meditation on your own, to really connect to your body as a sacred temple and the earth as a sacred temple. And I leave you with so much love and blessings, and may you receive the blessings of the Taurus moon and all the Taurus energies and the gateway of Venus in our third eyes. So thank you, everyone. And if anyone wants to reach me, you can reach me at Alelia, which is ELELIA, at Gaia Sophia, templeoftheheart.com. And that's also my website, GaiaSophiaTempleOfTheHeart.com. So thank you all so much for being
Thanks,
here and
Deborah.
for listening. Yeah.
Thank you, Deborah. And thank you, everyone who's watching, listening in. We'll be back in 2 weeks. What'll that be? June 2nd or 3rd? I'm not sure, but 2 weeks from today. And if anyone wants to reach me for a reading, some counseling, Solus, SOULUS at AOL.com. My website is leoknightontallarico.com. And much love and many blessings to all of you out there. And we'll see you in a couple of weeks. Take care.
Much love, everyone. Bye-bye.